Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're streaming once once again, and I have hiccups, so it's the perfect time to start the tech talk. We're going to be going through the comments of the last tech talk, and then we'll kind of go through it. At the same time, we're gonna be doing a bunch of things at the same time. So we'll be doing the Naval Arcade stuff. For Screaming Eagles, we'll be doing the Mark of Distinction, we'll be doing the Vienna operation, and also hopefully getting rid of these hiccups, you know. So yeah, I have donkey hiccups, which is so basically like you end up just like it's really fucking weird, but yeah, makes absolutely no sense like when it comes to like everything else, but yeah. So, if you don't know what the tech talk is, if you're new, basically you put your comments in the description, we go through them, and we chat about things. Simple as, you know, while we just play some War Thunder and go through things. We have had a lot of stuff happen this week. You know, you got the update, you got the Battle Pass stuff, you got the Naval event that's just started, you got the page of history, tank football, even the look of the Irish turned up. You got a leprechaun hat decal too. There's so much stuff going on, and it is interesting to say the least. So, and also with the Naval event, they brought in a ton of different weird things, like a ton of different things, which will be very interesting to see how they work. Basically, a bunch of changes to the damage model and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know how any of that's going to work too well, but c'est la vie. We'll have to see what goes on. Good evening, Penguin Red. Nice to see you. So, comments time. We have Little Fatso. Brothers talking about me. Rude. Would love to see a 40k themed April Fool's event. So many cool sci-fi tank designs. Yeah, I mean, it would be alright. Like, I got no issues with something like that. I think in general, when it comes to those things, what's more important, instead of like that kind of setup, is actually creating your own unique thing, right? So Gaijin doesn't seem to like really license stuff. They just kind of, you know, use ideas and kind of build off of them. Like the Children of Arrakis stuff, right? I doubt they did anything. Oh dear. I doubt they did anything with like the original creators of the Dune stuff, but maybe they did. Who knows? But I think overall, like, you know, Warhammer as an idea, there's a big crossover, right? If we're gonna have body pillows, right, and if we're gonna have general degeneracy when it comes to advertisements, what we also have to have is a way of purging heresy. So I think it's time to do both sides. You know, you can't just sit there and only do one. You gotta get each side involved. So balance must come to the force. It can't only just be weebery. So yeah, it's I don't think I'd like Warhammer as a April Fool's thing. I think I would prefer it as a similar one to how they did Atomic Hearts, where they do like its own individual event. Hey, Spaced Out Chimp, nice to see you. I think that would be much more interesting. But at the same time, you know, however they do it, it's going to be nice to see. Like their events usually are pretty good. They just sometimes have an issue with longevity. But you know, it's not a huge thing to go through. Then we have Karam-chan, of course, all of the different timestamps. So thank you to Karam-chan for doing that. Always kind of him to do so and have a bit of fun with it. So nice to kind of go through. Thank you, as always. So then we have Euro Scott. Thanks for your reply in the video. Anytime. I did consider the performance loss, but it's minimal. I normally ditch the bombs on ground targets early game, then concentrate on using the cannons 50s. Occasionally I'll drop it as a surprise on other bomber hunters. Yeah, the French version is now the best remaining option left for ground kills in a bomber. Yeah, this was to do with the SP2C. Yeah, and it sucks, you know, like, We were actually talking about it the other day, and I'll give the bomb a go. Like, I think it would be a decent idea. Just a bit worried, as I said, about performance, but we'll see what goes on. It kind of sucks because they did a bunch of changes, maybe 6 months ago now. They made real issues. Oh, they made real problems. For me, because they changed how a lot of special tasks work. Some they made easier, but the vast majority of them they made harder or just slightly more inconvenient is probably a way to go. And the last few battle passes, I've very much felt that. There has been times, like even right now, like I am very much behind when it comes to doing different things. Like when it comes to doing like special tasks, I'm usually around about like 35-40 at this point. At the moment, I'm at like 23. And that's just because of changing focuses, but also the fact that they just made a lot of them harder. And I've got very bored doing the same ones over and over and over again, and just doing those and that's it. I would much prefer to at least, you know, try a bunch of different stuff. I'm not having any issues with the dailies or the logins or the challenges. Like all that stuff is pretty easy. It's just a simple fact that doing the same things over and over and over again gets bloody boring, and it's one of those issues that's come around the place. Like in, you know, if you have a look at my service record, you'll see like the top vehicles used is stuff like the SB2Cs and all of those things. And that's just straight up because it was so much easier to do those things back in the day. And it still is, because they didn't make those ones harder. They made some of the more, like, I suppose, more unique or complicated ones harder. And it just kind of does my head in. The special tasks for Naval are still probably the easiest. But once again, it's actually just knuckling down and doing them. And that has definitely been a bit of an issue that I've had in over the last like few months. Just kind of like every other part of War Thunder, like I'm generally fine with and sorting out. But that part, like getting the special tasks done and doing that, I just have not really been that interested in doing. So gonna need a mindset change for that, I think. So then we have Ethan Skidmore. Let's see. Speaking of Canadian vehicles being added to War Thunder, the RCAF, the Royal Canadian Air Force, Centennial overlaps with both the event cycle and April Fools. So do you think we will get a unique Canadian aircraft? The CF-100 and CF-105 would be nice, but probably too high in rank to be considered a lower rank reward. So maybe something along the lines of the FTB-1, CP-107 Argus, or the CL-84 Dynavert with the 7.62mm Gatling. I honestly think that, yeah, they'll probably... Obviously, they're going to do some kind of event vehicle for April Fools, like they always do, right? We just don't have the crafting system anymore, so we're just going to have to see how they end up doing it compared to previously. But yeah, I think they will... I think they will definitely do something. They usually don't do event vehicles around historical things. They used to do that quite a lot, but they haven't done that in a long time. So I would be surprised if that was going to be one of their major focuses for doing something like that, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen. That's just, you know, that's just more of like a secondary reason instead of like a primary reason, right? So that's kind of at least how I look at it. I think overall that they are, if the leaks are true, right? Because obviously we haven't seen any of the Canadian vehicles yet that were in the leaks. If the leaks are true, they're obviously planning on doing like a subtree, or they're planning on doing something with that. And usually ground will come first, and then aviation will come second. But I'm sure we'll get a bunch of Canadian vehicles in, you know, the aviation part of things. They are unique, they are interesting, and they will have different playstyles, and also fill gaps in places where other nations kind of struggle with things. So I think it will be quite nice. You know, it will be good to see all that stuff, and you know, I'm looking forward to it at the end of the day. Like if it doesn't come through, and you know, it all falls apart, and Canadian stuff don't come in, it still will be fine. Like at the end of the day, the worst that happens is they come in as a bunch of event vehicles and people have fun with them. That's okay. But yeah, they could easily do something for this April Fool's if they wanted to. Then the vehicle doesn't really have to be, you know, part of the event, or you can you can always like make links between stuff, right, if you really need to. But c'est la vie. We'll have to see what goes on. So then we have Myro Slan. I played together with my boyfriend and he hates CAS. I personally don't have such a problem with it since I play both ground and air and other spawn fighters. But he suggested a new feature for low mid-tier SPAA, where the regular tank gun sight would be replaced with a semi-realistic spider sight that would automatically apply a lead after a short range finding and calculation time. This being useful mostly against planes at higher altitudes, flying in a straight line or in an attack dive. I mean, yeah, I suppose. Like the console guys kind of have something not similar to that, but like there's a system which is there, which, you know, they can use for that. Morning, Redner, nice to see you. I'm always worried about automatic systems in game, because whenever they've added them, it usually has quite, you know, a bit of a... It has a big effect on like areas. Like when they brought in the automatic... Whoop. That was weird. When they brought in the automatic thing, like the automatic laser rangefinder for high-tier vehicles, it basically neutered LWSs from a ground point of view. Because you hear the LWS, or you look at the LWS, and then you instantly get got by something, which wasn't very enjoyable. So for me, stuff like that is something I'm always worried about, where I honestly don't think like it's right to have a situation where planes are way more powerful than ground units, but I don't want to create just a click me button where just like things get annihilated because people get annoyed at certain mechanics, right? Especially in low tier. Like low tier ground right now is one of the easiest times to get into like a fighter to be able to deal with those things. So I understand the frustration that people have, but also one of the problems I've run into a lot with these things is you chat to people about this, right? And then you go, okay, well, do you do any of these things which are more beneficial to, or do you do any of these things to counter that thing? And they always go, well, no, because I want to play in this way. And it's like, well, by playing in the way that you're doing, you're limiting yourself massively with, you know, having to deal with these things. And you're trying to come up with solutions to problems that already exist, you just don't like the solutions. So it can be some very tough, like, discussions to have with people because of, you know, the way that they see the game. Like, there's kind of a rule that we have when it comes to these things. Like, whenever I see somebody say, as a X main or as a something main, you kind of just, like, you know, turn off the brain, because you're going to get a ludicrous set of ideas to try and fix something that is already solved. They just don't want to do it. So that's usually low tier CAS, the way that I see a lot of this stuff. Like they've tried to promote people like using different vehicles and, you know, trying different things, and I think overall it's been pretty successful, but there's still always going to be that annoyance there, so it's just how it goes. It's like in Naval, right? Like the way that it all works now. Oh, that guy just popped. Jesus. I think 5 PM, Rocker. If that works for you. Then we have Goku Ops. Or Goku Ops, probably. Not Goku Ops. French is my first tree. It is great, but lack of stabilizers and 8 to 8.7 is a pain. Yeah, but you get a lot of benefits though the vehicles don't, because you don't have the stabilizers, right? That's the thing. Like you get You get thermals, APF, SDS, coaxial 20mm, crazy light tanks, like all at those BRs. And if they got stabilizers, all those vehicles would be higher in BR, right? So like, it isn't really that useful. Like, put it like this, if those vehicles had stabilizers, what you would end up doing is you would just go, oh, well, I don't like playing these vehicles at 9.0 or 9.3 because they're worse in other areas. So it's more of a balance thing, right? Like, for me, that's kind of like why I liked a lot of those vehicles, because I felt like they had a ton of mechanics that you don't get until like later on, that many other nations like struggle with, right? Which that are around. So yeah, the French are fun though. Like, I've had a good time with them. Oh dear. Like, the French in general, like, I've had a pretty good time with. I'm hoping that in the future it can be fun as well, and then we can just, you know, have a decent time, wander around, and, you know, go around the place. But who knows? Who knows what's the idea? Like, right now I'm playing this BR and trying to get a battle pass challenge done, and we'll see how it goes. Playing some very weird vehicles. So we have Zealot. Hey TEC, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm alright. Had a good night last night. Had a nice time. Like, we just had some people over and just relaxed for a few hours, had some beers, chatted about some things, had a good time. Like, it worked pretty good. But yeah, life is okay. I love the new addition to the replay system, and I'm looking forward to using it. In one of your recent videos, you mentioned that changes like this are far more interesting than simply adding a vehicle, and I agree. Yeah, like, mechanic stuff or things like that, they just, even just from a numbers game, right? Like, if they add a singular vehicle, like, at least from my point of view, I'm gonna grind it, and I'm gonna play it, and then I'm gonna be over it. But something like that replay thing is gonna always be there, and I can always use it for several different vehicles, right? It's much more interesting. One thing I would really like to see going forward is the ability to customize crew. For example, if you jout, your pilot will have a unique parachute. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm pretty sure they are gonna do that at some point. Like, you know how at the end of the year they talked about like revamping the profile and doing stuff like that? That's the first steps to doing that stuff. So that's definitely gonna come in, and you know, people are gonna have a bit of fun with that. They could also allow you to customize an avatar in the Hungary game, such as giving unique uniforms, helmets, patches to your crew. They might even add event legendary crew from history or media with unique voice lines like they've done in World of Tanks. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Like, I honestly think it would be fantastic if they did stuff like that. They don't even have to have like special crew skills or anything like that they do in World of Tanks. It can literally just be, you know, an avatar which represents your vehicle. You could even add some like unique voice lines to it. You could like do all these different things, and yeah, it would be really cool. But yeah, I just don't know why it took so long to do that stuff. But then also at the same time, one of the things that I remember a lot when it comes to War Thunder is the idea that you need to build a platform before you need to build a platform for something before you try and add in a bunch of like cosmetic and customizable stuff. Because if people don't enjoy the platform, then they're not going to buy any of those things because they're not enjoying the core. So a lot of stuff goes into the core for that. I'm playing AB right now, Peter. But yeah, that stuff would be really cool. You know, I've talked about it for a decent amount of time. I think stuff like that is, you know, that's where the longevity of the game comes from. And at least the fun of the game comes from for me. You know, collecting different things, having a bit of fun, having a good time, and, you know, going through. It does kind of suck though that, you know, the last little bit for me has just been doing that. It would be nice to get back to just having a bit of fun with different vehicles, but c'est la vie. They decided to add 1 million events at the same time. So, it kind of sucks. Then we have Mr. Snack. Started playing Coastal and really liking it. What would you say is your favorite Coastal tree and Coastal vehicle? Interesting. I like different ones for different reasons. I can't stand the British one. The British one has a lot of vehicles with very low survivability. So what this means is you end up just either trading one for one or just getting nuked, right? And it's not very fun. The Soviet one has a lot of different vehicles, which do a lot of different things. There's a lot going on there. The American one's pretty fun with the torpedo boats. They're quite nice. The 3-0 lineup for me is really fun on that one. And the German one's also pretty good. Japanese, Italy, and Britain's very weak. Everybody else, I would say I've had a good amount of time in. I would probably go for the Soviet one, just because they're like higher echelon stuff, and also the fact that they have a lot of variety with their stuff. Like the major issues you have with the Soviet one is like the torpedoes. The torpedoes aren't great, but you know that's not a huge deal, especially when looking at quite a decent amount of things. So yeah, for me, I'd probably go for the Soviet one. Like that's the one to go for. The vehicle though. The vehicle that I've enjoyed the most recently is the Candid, but I think they may have changed its model, because that thing was completely broken. You just couldn't really kill it, so you would just go backwards with the guns and use the 240s and just annihilate everybody. I do enjoy stuff like the dark classes though. I think the dark classes are really fun. Just wandering around and doing quite a lot of damage with them is quite enjoyable. So I think that's quite good. I'd probably do those. So then we have Astral Fox. Hey Tech, hope you're doing good. I'm alive and kicking. Not sure if this question has been brought up in previous talks, but I like the idea of individual vehicle customization, such as removable side skirts or little bits you could add to your vehicle. I'm not sure how difficult it would be for Gaijin to add this to the game, but I believe it's always good to give players the ability to add their personal unique touch on their vehicles of choice. It wouldn't take them a lot because they already do it. They just usually do it for like different vehicles or to give them like different ideas. So, for example, if you have a look at the Magaks, right? A lot of the Magaks are just M60s or M48s. Like, there's not really any difference between them. What gives them the individual pizzazz is the decorations that they put on top of them. So, like, without those, they're just M48s and M60s. There's a lot of vehicles where you can remove modifications, which remove side skirts in order to change tracks or to do stuff like that. So the capability is there and has been done many times in the past. But the only question is, if you add in something like that for all vehicles, does that limit your opportunities to sell vehicles in the future? Because one of the things that happens a lot with premiums, for example, is a lot of premiums have those like slight differences, right? Yeah, the VFW, and also there's a Stora now. But if you have a look at the Panzer IV for Italy, for example, the only thing that makes a difference between the standard ones in the German tech tree are like the side skirts and then some other kind of artificial stuff which is around the place, right? PSA for my Hoi 4 bros, you can redeem 3 free DLCs to keep forever. Oh, make sure to check that out. So yeah, you have this situation where they want to make vehicles unique, and the way that they're doing it is through the way that they look. So not necessarily how they play or how they move, but how they look. Just like how you have camos for planes. In ground,
you have the camos, and then you have the additional stuff on top of it. And some people are alright with that, and other people aren't, because, you know, they want a little bit more. But if you individually make it so people can just, you know, kind of just see those and, or, you know, there's no difference between all of them, there's a little bit less incentive to buy them, right? And that's probably what they're looking at. From a personal point of view, I'm fine with it. You know, I would welcome a system like that. I'm always down for more customization, more player choice. Like, I think in general that's a positive thing, not a negative thing. But yeah, from a company point of view, they're already kind of doing it, just not at the level that people want, because it would cost them to do so. Interesting to think about. So we have BQ Event Guy. Hey Tech, any tips for vehicles or lineups for completing the Blue Water Torpedo Challenge for the Battle Pass? The challenge seems like it's going to be a pain in the ass, so would appreciate the help. That's all good. Shimakaze. Shimakaze plus anything with the same torpedoes of the Shimakaze. So the Japanese torpedoes are fantastic. They're very good. And they move very quickly through the water and do a lot of damage. So stuff like the Shimakaze, which has access to a ton of them, the Yugamo, not the Akizuki, but the other one, the Kusaramaya or whatever. Just have a look for, I believe it's either Type 91 or Type 93, Type 91 or Type 93 torpedoes. Those ones are very powerful. The shimmy is fantastic for pretty much any challenge. Any challenge in general. There's a free DLC for The Sims 4. Okay, I'll text the missus, just to let her know. So yeah, the here, I'll show you the shimmy. Japan. So this guy here, the Shimakaze, it has 15 Type 93 Model 3 torpedoes. So you just do this, and then you just, you know, spray the spawn with them. The Yugamo also has them, so you can run them together, or you can run a rank 3 and then one of these things. The Hatsuharu doesn't have them, it has different ones. And then also, so the Akizuki does have them, but not as many. So Shimi or the Kiyoshimo has the Type 93s, which are also pretty good. So yeah, all of them work pretty well, you know. Why do you not have repair and bilge pump on auto like you do fire? So fire is one of those priorities. Let's see. I'll just do this for 2 seconds. There's a Sims 4 DLC for free. So if you have to put out fire and also repair stuff at the same time, it will actually make each process longer. So the more things that you're doing at the same time, so if you are unsinking, repairing, and putting out fires at the same time, it reduces the... It makes all of those processes slower. So you want to try and do one of them first, or you want to, you know, try and focus on one of them, right? So in War Thunder, if you don't put out a fire, it will consistently make it so you have to constantly repair new things. If you sink, or if you have a huge hole in you, you probably already still have a fire, right? So the fire is number 1 priority out of the 3 for me. Number 2 priority is unsinking, and then number 3 is fixing stuff. So since fire is always going to be my number 1 priority of trying to stop firstly, I'm gonna have that on automatic, right? And then if I need to switch it off automatic, I can click it and then hold it down to stop putting out the fire, so then I can focus on other things. But yeah, most of the time, like 99% of the time, that's what you want to focus on, right? Like, so that's why that's that. So yeah, that's how I have it set up. Mm-hmm. Getting your bridge knocked is very annoying. But yeah. Round in circles time. But yeah, so that's pretty much why. With all that stuff. Like how it's all set up. Let's see. Yeah, but you can do Shimakaze. The other one you could do is technically stuff like the SKR-7 if you really wanted. But no, those are the ones to go for, in my opinion. Like, those are the ones to focus on. The shimmy and the general Japanese ones. The only nation I'd say is pretty weak on that front is Soviet and Britain. Just because Britain has very weak firing lines with their stuff. The Soviets just have terrible torpedoes. So, you know. Thank you for the subscription, 99697991. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, Italy has really bad torps too, but in Naval I tend to forget Italy exists, which is my bad. But yeah, they're in a pretty rough place. Whoops, wrong button. Right, let's go down. There we go. So then we have Chris Dew. The OV-10 is a fantastic plane, very effective close air support aircraft, even during Shield Storm. Yeah, I mean, American close air support aircraft usually have a very good reputation, because they don't, usually in order to use them, they have full air superiority. But I wasn't really commenting on how good the vehicle was, or how well it did against inferior machinery. It was more about the fact that that it's ugly, basically. Texas Beach is on 996. It just doesn't work half the time because all those systems got broke about 6 months ago, and it's very bloody annoying. So wish they fixed that, but silly. But yeah, it is very easy. It's very easy to do well when there isn't a counter to you, which should kind of be seen in pretty much every war setting. So we have Pascal Butler. Hello, Tech. Hi. Hope you're doing well. We all remember the update Hot Tracks? Hell yeah. Straight after New Power, that one. Big update, that Christmas update. Big update. The defining feature and namesake of the update, full real tracks, didn't even make release and had to be patched in later. Yeah, it didn't work. This was the defining gadget moment in my eyes. What would you consider the all-time gadget botch job? Well, I mean, there's several times where they've just straight up broken the game, like it didn't work. So probably those. But no, the hot track stuff I think was just more of a, okay, we've been working really hard on this one update, and we don't really have enough to like put out, you know, a next update. So that was more that. Like, what I remember from Hot Tracks was just how big New Power was as an update. I don't really I remember Hot Tracks being a very weak update, but for a good reason. The biggest botch job, in my opinion, was, yeah, when they straight up they straight up broke, whenever they fully like break the game. Like, there was an exploit a few updates ago where if you crash the A4 into the ground, it straight up would crash the game for everybody. So what did a bunch of CCs do? They started crashing A4s into the ground. To be like, haha, look, funny meme. Or the Phantom exploit that people used to do, where you would take a bunch of Phantoms and you would stick them in the air, and then you would fire off all your rockets at the same time and it would break the server. Stuff like that, right? Not very fun. So I think the biggest one was the one where they completely broke bombers and also broke the relationship between damage and stuff. This was a long time ago, like many years ago, but they basically made a lot of bombers in just not being able to die, and and you had to put in like all of your rounds to just kill one bomber. And then at the same time, they made it if you just spawned, crashed your bomber into the ground, then you got like 20,000 RP randomly. So of course, a bunch of people do this. So you would have a realistic games where you would spawn in, right? You would spawn in, and then 80 to 90% of your team would just run into the ground and die. And then you'd be like, what the hell is going on? So yeah, and this was before ground was a thing in the game. So they patched that one pretty bloody quickly, I think is probably the way to put it. And yeah, so yeah, the Churchill one was pretty good, but yeah, usually for updates and stuff like that, you know, if the content doesn't work, you know, in the way it's supposed to, it doesn't work. But if you fundamentally break the game and make it so it doesn't work for people, then I feel like that's a lot more that's a lot more serious than features not working properly, right? Because if the hot tracks don't work properly, it don't break the game. If you bug out the economy system so it makes it so, you know, it doesn't work properly, the whole thing's screwed, right? Yeah, that was kind of an interesting time. Like to see an aircraft for the next anniversary vehicle. Definitely has to be the Flying Pancake. I mean, maybe. For me personally, I would just like for them to actually bring back old stuff, you know? I just want them to bring back old event vehicles every anniversary. Do what they did on the 10th anniversary, but every year. Just like how they bring back the mouse and stuff like that. Just make it so, like, when you know in the anniversary you can get access to old event vehicles. Maybe every year you do a different event that comes back. Maybe one year you do like the crafting events. Maybe one year you do the summer events and the winter events. So you can grind out a bunch of old event vehicles, you know. I don't want new vehicles in anniversaries. Anniversaries is a time of remembering. It's a time of, you know, not reliving the past necessarily, but remembering what happened there. If you just make it about future content and future things, that's no different to the rest of the game. So for me, I think it's important during anniversaries to actually focus on what used to be and focus on that area. Like, you know, you're supposed to be looking back, not forward. C'est la vie. I know people just want new stuff and they want to see whatever thing that they want at that time. That's never going to be my bag. I think it's much more important for people to be able to get access to older stuff, which right now is severely lacking in the game, apart from through loot crates. Woo! And even they don't come around all the time. So then we have Sparks. What are the possibilities of gauging testing a new mechanic for Navy or Air through the April Fool's event? Arms and anti-shipping guided munitions. We already have anti-ship guided munitions. I feel like every time like I go through these things, like people just forget that things exist in the game already. We already have anti-ship missiles. We actually have a few of them. We have some on aircraft. Like the Buccaneer. The Buccaneer has just come in with an anti-ship missile. One of the Maverick that they just kind of added is pretty much an anti-ship thing. There's also the Tornado with the anti-ship missile on it. The Saeta has been in the game for a long time. A very long time. With those capabilities. So I don't know. I don't know why they'd need to test something that's already here. Especially since it will just take the form of all the other stuff that's here. I think it's more... I mean, once again, active radar missiles. We already have them. And they were tested on the dev server. And we've had active radar homing missiles for a long time. If we're talking about stuff like the AGM-88s or the AGM-65s or 64s or whatever they are, the Shrikes, they don't really need testing because all the mechanics are already in game. You just have to make it look at a specific thing. And can you imagine an April Fool's event which is based around that idea? Where you turn up, you lock target on ground, you fire missile. Or you just fire missile in general area and see what happens. That doesn't seem very fun to me. But then again, I'm a bit old school. Maybe it's fun just spawning and shooting things. You know, that's why we have to keep making maps smaller and smaller and smaller as we go around. Who knows? It'd be how we do, and it is how it is. Fire anti-ship missiles when you have the Japanese zero line? Very true. My guns are like... they're misfiring, and I don't really know why. Like, none of them should be misfiring. Sorry, I just...
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well.
It is... Be quiet, me. You're very obnoxious, you know that? Why are two of my guns misfiring? They're not even damaged. But yeah. Then we have forward animatics. Let's see what that says. I think there's a repairing bug right now where it tells you to repair stuff even if, you know, you don't need to. One of my guns just doesn't have ammo or something in it. I don't know what's going on with my guns. It's very weird. There's a repair bug in Naval at the moment. Well, that's fantastic. I'm really glad that we have an event at the same time as a game-breaking bug being in the game for a game mode that the event's for. I'm really happy about that, actually. So what makes my day, you know? Makes me really happy to you know, breathe, live, go around the place. Sorry. I shouldn't be as annoyed as I am about these things, but I'm at a point where it's just been happening for way too many years now. Hey TEC, I remember leaving a comment on the last video, but it mysteriously disappeared. Anyway, I will post it here. In reference to Simony C modes, what would you think about a voice channel system similar to Squad? Let's just do that. Similar to Squad, where people can make 4 to 5 man squads in voice channels each game. The squad leaders can communicate to each other, much like Squad. I'd absolutely love this for EC, Naval and Air. Sure, why not? There is a voice chat system in War Thunder. You just have to be in a squad with people. And a lot of people use Discord already, so... If you mean in the specific games, you could have a system where if people, like, pop in, you could, like, right-click on their name and say, like, request to chat or something. And then if they say yes, then it puts you in a pool where you can chat with people. That'd be kind of cool. I think that'd be nice. Like, I'd be down for that. But yeah, there is VoIP already in the game. Like, you got internet radio. You ever tried this, by the way? You should give it a go. But yeah, you've got voice chat, and if you're in a squad together, you can actually just chat to each other. Yeah, if you wanted to make it in Sim so it's a little bit more, or you know, it's a little bit more random, you could do that. But yeah, so it already technically exists, but probably not in the form that you're thinking about. So yeah, sure, why not? Get people chatting, get more people together so they can just chill and talk about stuff. It's much easier than using the chat. One of the things that put me off the Naval EC stuff was when it got to a certain point, it just became people just text chatting each other in the chat all the time. Not even really playing the game, just like beating up the AI as they went. And what this actually meant, at least for me, was it was lagging out my game. So
every time like a message would come through, I would lose like a bunch of FPS. Which was incredibly annoying. So I gave up because I'm not gonna play a game mode where my FPS gets limited. You know? I do senpai a few of them, but the problem is the the same thing. People go to larger areas to like the communications Discord, right? And then they garner a bunch of people to play with, and then they create their own Discord, so then they go on that one. So then they have their own like little group, and then they don't want to move to different areas. So that just kind of happens all the time. But yeah, stuff like the communications Discord and things like that is always pretty good. Hey Lafouche, nice to see you. Great patch, that's good. Glad you're enjoying it. But yeah, like why not? They're adding more interaction stuff in the game. You'll be able to spam your mates to buy you something soon. So you can be a little EVGA. You need to get out the Tartars and let's go. Good old humanity. I remind you that you still couldn't win against the Jaguar? I think I could. Not right now. Like, my body isn't feeling great right now, but I definitely could. Let's see. So we have Insane Robert. Hey Tech, hi. What would be your opinion on the YF-12 Inceptor? Should it be in game as a tech aircraft, or would it be most fun as introduced for a special April Fool's thing? I have no idea what the YF-12 is. That would be my first point. I'm guessing it's American from the naming setup. Obviously it's some kind of prototype thing. Like, I can have a look. I couldn't beat the fence in Wolfenstein, but I will beat the Penguin King. The Lockheed YF-12. A Mach 3 capable high altitude interceptor prototype. Oh, fun. I don't know how you would add something like that into War Thunder. How it would work in game at all. I think the only way you could add that in is in like a PvE setup. I do like the idea of adding things like that, but as things that you unlock to be able to have in your hangar. So imagine if you had like an April Fool's one, kind of like the space race, which was an additional one on top of what you saw. And imagine if you completed it, what ended up happening is you actually have a, let's see. If you like complete like the event or whatever, then what about if it flies around your hangar or something? You know. Hey Ephialtis, nice to see you, man. I'm doing good. Just a bit fatigued. But like what if you had like a situation like that? So not necessarily like, and you could play in like custom battles or whatever, so you don't play it in like actual proper battles. Because obviously in proper battles it wouldn't really fit. But what if you did like a situation like that? I think that would be cool. You know, that would be nice to see. I don't see why that wouldn't work. Yeah, I still don't have hangar trophies or anything like that. It's crazy, right? So many other games have capitalized on it, but maybe, as I said, you know, times will change. But things like that, it's just amazing to me that I haven't turned up. So I think overall stuff like that would be nice. I'd definitely be down for it. Just not in standard matchmaking, which I know would annoy some people because, you know, they want to use stuff in standard matchmaking, but c'est la vie, you can't have everything you want, right? You can't just break the game and be happy with it. you gotta have a little bit, you know, a little bit less of a thing. Then we have Chris Dew once again.
HESH in real life lost its ability to kill tanks in the mid-80s late Cold War. Some success in Desert Storm? Probably, but in War Thunder it's always been rough. Like, as I said, I know people who always like talk about HESH in the good old days, but I just don't see it. I don't remember it. I don't remember a time where it was. I remember a time... Oh god. I'm also kind of bored of like getting damaged and my FPS dying in Naval as well. That's another bug that they've added, which isn't very fun. Got double bombed there though. Jesus. But yeah, so I would hope that at some point in War Thunder HESH would become more manageable. But, you know, whenever I've tried it over the years, it's just never worked for me. Much easier just to use the standard stuff, you know. One day. Then we have the user KV. Would a Canadian subtree mean there's a possibility of an Argentinian or Swiss subtree for Germany? Don't know why Germany, but sure. Like, once again, anything's possible. Nothing is off the table. Why would it be? You're gonna, you know, with the idea of content always having to progress, why would there ever be a point where something would not happen? There'll always be stuff that happens. Anything is possible when it comes to War Thunder. It's just how it's been for a long time. And it'll continue to be like that. Nothing will ever change. More and more stuff will be added. More and more things will come in. And you'll either love it or hate it. It'll be like Marmite, you know? In and out. Up and down. I think it's more likely a Swiss subtree goes to France. Because Germany doesn't need a subtree. And Argentina, I mean... Sure, I feel like I'd want Argentina to go to a different nation just to beat the allegations. Because, I don't know, there's a lot of history memes that I'm just bored of at this point. But I feel like if you add Argentina to Germany, it's gonna spark a lot of people saying some pretty edgy stuff, and I don't know, I want to get past that. Not really hugely into super edgy things. Real life is weird enough. And we have Anonymous. What do I think about the F4E 2020 Terminator for Italy? I have no idea what that is. What is the F4E 2020 Terminator? Is that a Phantom or something? Has somebody made a video about it, or has somebody like done something with it? It's a Turkish Air Force F4E modernized by Israel and the pattern of the Konas 2000. Why would this go to Italy and not Israel? They basically just took a Phantom and added in like all the standard modern day systems. Okay, sure, why not? Just like the F4 Ice, go ahead. No reason why it shouldn't be in the game. Seems like a very, very weird one to pick. Like, I don't know. Like, it's a very, very odd pick for that. May I ask just like why that one specifically? It just seems like, I don't know. When does that like get in the mind? Did somebody make a video on it, or did for some reason like you just see it at some point? Did you see a news article about it? It's a very odd vehicle to have there. But yeah, sure, why not? Sounds good for me. And we have Janyo B2, Eishino Shiba. Nice to see you. Hi TEC, with the addition of Hungary in the game, do you think that's a good choice to add it, or would you have opted for another European country? Hungary's fine, it's safe, and they don't really annoy anybody. You know, Right, okay, I'm gonna say something that's gonna piss off people, alright? So, just put that as a caveat. If we look at the grand scheme of things in the history of the world, especially nowadays, Hungary is not exactly a large part of it, right? So it's a very, very safe choice. Obviously, in the past, they've been on both sides of specific different walls, and also, you know, people in the grand scheme of things don't know anything about Hungary, or what it is, where it's from, who's from there, or anything, right? You will obviously have people who are from that area which will know that history and which will know interesting things and all of that general stuff, right? But if you look at the grand scheme of the world, and specifically the vast majority of people who play War Thunder, nobody knows anything about Italy. And if you say that to people, they'll do a quick Google search and go, oh, well, this guy was from here, this guy was from there. You know, this is what they have, this is their economy, you know, all this stuff, like all the points that like turn up, right? So it's a perfect vehicle to add as a subtech tree because it's not going to annoy anybody. And also a lot of the vehicles that they've added to it, you know, are safe, simple additions. They're not ones which are going to fry anybody's brain. There'll be a little bit of pushback from crazy Italian nationalists. Luckily there's about 5 of them, so you don't have to worry about them. And everybody else will be just completely fine going around the place. So it's a great pick. Most European countries are like that though, which aren't in the game. So right now, the addition of Hungary is great. If they add any of the other European countries, that's also great. There's a few questions about people getting annoyed at specific vehicles getting added to certain areas. But as we said before, it doesn't matter. They've broken pretty much every rule, or whatever rule people think that exists in the book when it comes to adding stuff, and there hasn't been a massive public backlash about it or anything. So, at the same time, overall, it feels pretty good, right? It's a good addition. Hasn't caused a lot of controversy. Seen nobody really, you know, annoyed about it or anything. People are just happy to see some of the vehicles with the Hungarian camouflages, and happy that Italy doesn't have as many bloody holes in its tech tree anymore. Like, I'd say that's pretty positive. I'd say that, you know, that's a humdinger right there. But, you know, there's always going to be people who are a bit annoyed, but best thing to do is just not pay them attention. Because they'll shut up after about a few weeks, or they'll realize they just don't have as much sway as they thought they would. So they're just, you know, screaming into the void. Seems like a good pick to me. And, you know, as I said, there's a bunch of other picks there which would be grand too. And I'm sure they'll do them over time. Like, at the end of the day, everybody's going to get added to the game. By hook or by crook, you know. It's going to happen. So it's not like a negative thing or anything like that. It's just some of that's going to go. And, you know, I think most people are just happy, if they're from that region, to see their vehicles in the game. And to be able to play them, to be part of the history, yada yada yada. Just like everybody else. So for me, no issues. I think it's positive. I'm very happy to see them. And I welcome all subnations into the game to bolster tech trees which are floundering. I think it's a great system. I'm very happy they've added it. And I'm looking forward to the next stage where they add even more stuff to help out people as it goes forward. It's nice. Bring on the minor Europeans. Bring on the Soviet bloc, bring on the Western bloc in the tech trees that already exist. Why not, you know? And if people are annoyed about it, the opposite is don't add them, which is not a very good use of time. Then we have Rafa has. Let's see. It will be quite funny, Marlo, but nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Hi Tech, hope you're doing well. I'm alive. I have an idea to add similar mechanics for large maps as for night battles. So if you don't like them, or you have stock tanks, you can simply disable those maps. Also similar as for night battles, I would add decorations, decals to encourage players to play those maps. Personally, I very like those big maps, but I understand that it's painful to play them without a rangefinder. Now many players prefer smaller maps with more action. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, make it opt in, opt out. And then they can base decisions based on that, on what they want to create in the future. Sounds like a really positive idea for me. Once again, give players control. If players want to play these things, okay. And if they find out that there's a decent amount of the player base who wants to do this stuff, or, you know, a sizable, even minority portion, they can develop for it. So yeah, I'm down. The night battle thing, though, I haven't seen any night battles, like, when I've been playing around those BRs at all. I haven't actually had a single one yet. But, also, I've been not playing too much high stuff. Mainly sticking around, like, 9-0, like, spading a bunch of stuff out around there. But yeah, I thoroughly agree. They should definitely add a system like that. Just give people what they want, and also, you know, get a bunch of additional stats about what to create in the future. Instead of, you know, forcing stuff on people at the end of the day. I think it's good. They should do it. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? You know? Like, it's not going to cause any issues. It's only going to make it so people actually, you know, play those areas a bit more and have a bit of fun. Why not? Alright, then we have Call Me Roth. Whoop. Not an end-all solution, but remove attackers from air spawns. Attackers are most suited overall for ground targets and not bases. You can switch to a fighter role, let them spawn on the runway, or air spawn but behind bombers. Small notes on the H5, it's not exactly the same as the R28, but a dollar store version in true Chinese fashion. It lacks the takeoff boosters and the air brake, making it a plane you never want to land and rearm. The normal R28 has an air brake? I didn't even know that. I mean, fair enough. But yeah, it might be slightly different. What's the other thing? You could remove air spawns from all the attackers at mid-tier, definitely. I'm completely fine with them doing stuff like that. And then, at the same time, what they really should do is then, you know, take the stats about these vehicles and how well they do, and then work out where to put them in the standard. Like, whether they should give them an air spawn or not. Yeah, they could make it so they spawn behind the airfield. So they don't, you know, they don't get to the battlefield as quickly as everything else. They could, I mean, the major issue is just the vehicles that are a problem are the multi-role vehicles, and they always have been. Before, you had vehicles which didn't really have any use because the game did not promote their playstyle. But now, you have a bunch of vehicles which are okay, like they're fine, but the game promotes the multi playstyle. So stuff like the Mauler and the AD can work in different ways and be able to do different things as it goes, which is, you know, means that a bunch of other vehicles just lose out, which is kind of sad for them. But say la vie, it is the way of the world. Has been for a while now when it comes to War Thunder. So we have D. Austin Vaughan. Hey Tech, hope War Thunder is still fun for you right now, and you're also optimistic for the new update. Yeah, War Thunder is fun, you know. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it, right? It was fun playing tank football earlier. It's fun doing the tech talk stuff, you know, grinding out the clever, getting the clever done. My major issue with War Thunder is they're just doing too much stuff at the same time. If they did less stuff right now, it would be a much more enjoyable experience. Because instead of like planning out my day, I could just enjoy and play what I kind of, you know, generally want to. Like, I'd probably do a lot of the same stuff anyway, but it's the idea of feeling forced into doing stuff. It's not really that enjoyable. But yeah, it is. I have some quick War Thunder Naval questions for you if you don't mind. Sure. Do you think we'll get French coastal before the end of the year, or is there a lost cause? No, I don't think you will. I'll be very surprised if French coastal comes in a very long time. Because the issue with the French coastal stuff is the fact that they don't really have any. And what they could have is very limited amounts of stuff. I think it's more likely you get like a premium vehicle to run with everything. And that obviously won't work very well. So yeah, I don't think that happens. That would be a no from my point of view. I think it's more likely with the French stuff they just keep adding more and more large ones because that's what people seem to be more interested in. But yeah, that's all I would put on that front, unfortunately, which sucks because it does really limit the French tech tree quite a lot, not having access to coastal stuff, because it just means that you can't grind them out, right? Like you can't cap points. You're just in a slogging match the whole time. Like, it's not very fun. Like, not great. Will we get the Bismarck, Iowa, or Yamato by the end of the year? Doubt it. They're gonna add in a bunch of stuff before those types of things. You know, if you have a look at like War Thunder Mobile, there's a bunch of different things which are there, which signify that we're gonna get more mechanic-based stuff instead of just the big bruisers. Because once again, once you add those types of vehicles, what's the hook? Like, there isn't anything bigger than those. So there isn't anywhere to go. It's like just turning around and adding like, I don't know, the F-22, the F-35 or whatever. Just like now. There isn't anything to go forward with, so... Well, yeah, fake stuff, I suppose, but even then it's not, you know, it's not as much as a hook as, you know, the cool stuff. So I think we get more of I think it's more likely we get stuff like submarines, stuff like missile destroyers and things like that, like flesh out those parts before we get those types of vehicles. We might get drip fed some at the end of the year. You know, there's 4 updates is a long time in War Thunder. So yeah, we'll probably get something, but I don't think it will be as drastic as that. Where they'll add all of them. There'll probably be one. It'll probably be German. Because it's always German to start with for some reason. And then we'll like go from there. Something to look forward to, I suppose. Are submarines really coming soon? We obviously don't know when they're coming. Usually the mid-update of the year is it's a naval heavy update. It's when they release CBT, it's when they did OBT, when they released the French, when they released the Italian ships. Like they really like the mid update of the year, like that June update, to be kind of a naval heavy one. So you'll probably see more naval stuff in the next update, and that'll give you an idea of what will come later on. So, you know, keep an eye out for that. Could later Cold War and more modern ships allow coastal to go to rank 6 or 7, and that way a 4.0 isn't 390 kp anymore? No, not really. Because we already have a shit ton of Cold War and modern ships, so... Pretty much all the top of the coastal tree is Cold War, or you know, or even quite modern. So, I mean, adding more stuff to it in that way probably won't do a lot. Obviously, they'll do their standard stuff where they reduce the grind over time, but you know, it's not unless they do something very drastic. Like, put it like this: this is the way that War Thunder research works, right? They have like a total amount of RP that they like heading towards. Okay, so a machine, like a tree, they want to be like a specific level and have it take a specific amount of time to get through. The more vehicles that you add to that tech tree, right? So the more vehicles that you add to that tech tree, the less each individual is, or each individual vehicle is, because of the fact that they want the amount of time to grind through the tech tree to be the same compared to what they have done previously, right? So if a tech tree takes, like, let's say X amount of time to do something, if they then lower it, right? If they then add more machines to that tech tree, then it will basically mean that they want to. It basically means that that's, you know, then the vehicles that are there already will lower in RP. They do it all the time when they add in a new rank. It just really depends on when they decide to actually do it. So that's just more of a. Like a we'll see kind of question. Sorry, just have to readjust. Yeah, that's more of a we'll see what happens kind of question, but yeah, as they add more vehicles, RP per individual vehicle decreases. So definitely look out for that. But the coastal side of things, they really haven't added a ton of stuff recently, have they? Like, you get like one-off vehicles here and there, like the DLE, but you know, they're not going whole hog into chucking in a metric ton of new vehicles. So we'll have to see. So we have Jerry. I think that Gaijin should add stuff like the Type 81 and Strela, a little radar trailer to pull, since they don't have a radar. This wouldn't be too far-fetched, since in real life these vehicles would have other vehicles pull around a tiny little radar. Real life is different to video game. Also, since the Stridswagen KRV was passed to the devs, I'd like to say I really don't think it should be added. Like you've said before, these prototype vehicles, which are supposed to do all these crazy things, usually are pretty unbalanced. Yeah, but it's not even a prototype. That's the thing, it's a paper design. Like, sometimes you get like prototypes which are nuts, but at least it was built and showed, you know? The thing about the Krangwagen is it was never even built. Like, the chassis was built. Ooh, the easy bit was built. The auto-loading system in an open space was built. Nothing else? Not really. So, yeah. The idea of wandering around with a trailer with a radar on it, I kind of like it. But I also understand, like, you know, if something has a radar or doesn't have a radar, should they be at the same BR? Is that something that is enough of a difference for a vehicle in order for it to not have, in order for it to, you know, change in BR? Which is something to think about, right? And I think it is. Like, I think that's one of those things where you'd have to do something like that. There we go. Right, Alright, so we have JTR. 2 Wong Dadong Dadong 300 knots. Hello, TEC. Hi. In terms of bombers, I've had an idea though. I haven't really thought about it if it's a good one or not. Okay. Fair enough. These guys are just motoring. So, to make them a little bit more survivable, I had 2 AI bombers like in single missions. They would act as a squad and drop bombs at the same time as you, which would require the bases to be bigger and with much more health. Why are we trying to balance bombers again? I think also part of the frustration is with the reward pop-up not being satisfying enough. I've been trying to unlock the decals and pinups etc. in game, and usually those are ground target requirements, which felt more fun than just tonnage for bases. That's very fair. This guy is just spamming my... Jesus. Oh my god, did they break this shit again? Jesus Christ, that was annoying. Right, there we go. I haven't thought much about it, but big planes are always fun to fly in. I just wanted to leave it to discussion. Have a great day, TEC. You too. I think they should, instead of it being either tonnage or ground targets, it should be an either or. So instead of, because a lot of them right now, it's like, okay, well, you can either, so you have to do tonnage or you have to kill ground targets. What if it was, okay, you either kill this amount of ground targets or you have to do this amount of tonnage for the same thing? I think that would be quite nice, you know, so you could kind of play it how you want. I'm not really hugely into the whole adding AI vehicles to or in addition to what you see, because AI in War Thunder is pretty rough, and also at the same time, you know, that it would basically make it very hard to approach certain bomber formations. Like, think if you like 3 or 4 stacked bombers, so that's now 12 bombers in the air. Like in the PvE missions, if you've ever played them, you know that even if you get like 4 bombers next to each other, they'll just light you up with their guns. Like they'll just straight up annihilate you. So I like the system in a PvE kind of context, and I wish that we had more systems like that in game. I think the game would be a lot more fun for it if we had like individual missions where you did like bombing runs with like AI. But yeah, the major problem is when bombers become very, very good or very popular, it kind of kills the gameplay around it. And we're trying to once again find a solution to something that already exists, which is the whole, you know, not directly going to the areas. Not directly going to the areas of action that exist. So if you don't do that, right, then you're generally pretty good. But, you know, I understand that's harder to do for people because they want to be able to play how they want. Oh, I like bombers. I think they're fun. I enjoy them. I've never really had too many negative experiences spading bombers. The Votor is basically the only one that I struggled with. Just because it was at the time where everything got on air spawn, and yeah, it was kind of rude. Not very nice having to deal with air spawning F-105s, gotta be honest. Boy, class is a negative interaction, that. Not very enjoyable. But Yeah, I'm live, Ray Shadow. We're just doing the tech talk at the same time. That's what we do on Fridays. Just have a bit of fun. And, you know. Yeah, I'm playing Naval. The Naval event's going on. So it's Naval time. And also the Battle Pass challenge is also going on. So, a lot of Naval stuff right now. We got the Triumphant and got a bunch of other stuff. Having a bit of fun with it. So far, so good. Fair enough, right? Well, hopefully it improves. You don't like the survivability changes? So we have Type 10. Hey TEC, this new map is lovely. I'm not a huge fan of it at the moment, but I think it's more down to what vehicles I'm using. I went back to the T2 and it was nice to play a jet. That's really good. I need to grind out the the new missiles on the T2. That'd be nice. I enjoyed playing the T2 actually. Like it wasn't the easiest thing, but I felt like I had a good look at everything. I will finish modifying the F1, but I won't touch the F104 series. I can't bring myself to play a jet that looks like a pencil. Fair enough. I feel like the T2 and the F1 look like pencils. It feels weird playing the Type 59. It's a type of playstyle I'm not used to, but it's fun. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm bracing myself for the Tiger Shark spam. Oh boy, it's going to be hectic. Got the IL-10 for China. I absolutely love guns. That's all I have. Nice morning or afternoon. You too, man. Hopefully you have a good one. So, the Tiger Shark spam will be interesting if it's as egregious as the F5 spam. Because I still think the F5 is a better vehicle to play if you want to grind out stuff, right? The F20 will get eaten by top tier stuff. And people will have a pretty rough time in it. I'm not sure how effective it's going to be for people, you know? Well, French 130s and 138s have always been pretty deadly. It might be you're just seeing more of them right now because of the Battle Pass. But yeah, literally since the French have come out, those guns have been very good. But it's just that, you know, with the Battle Pass mission and everything, you have people playing the French stuff for the Triumphant. But yeah, these things do a lot of damage nowadays. And it is a love it or hate it scenario. For me, I'm a bit indifferent. People get more points, so during this event, it's pretty positive. I think that's a good thing. But yeah, the Chinese tech tree is fun. I'm glad that you're enjoying it and getting through it, having a good time with it. It's very positive. So we have Invader. Namaste TEC. Namaste. Namista. What a good American lineups, I think. 5-7 is pretty weak. 5-7 has the issue that it gets up to 6-7, but you can make it work with the Hellcats. 6-7's insanely strong. 6-7, 4-0, 3-7, 2-7, 7-7. High tier is pretty good. 10-3, I think, is the BR right now, which is pretty nice. Like, America has a ton of good lineups, and usually, you know, they're only not seen as good because there are maybe nations which have slightly better ones at that BR, but overall, I'd say the ones are very good. There aren't many lineups in the game for America that I would not want to play. You play reserve with rank 3 coastal? I get that. Yeah, I know a lot of people who do that. They either do that or they do the other one. Whatever it's called. The SKR7. But for me, I want to grind out the Battle Pass stuff, and I mean, I also want to actually like grind out vehicles, right? The Kako finally died. God damn. Took a while. Yeah, this repair bug stuff is annoying. Half of my guns are misfiring and I can't fix them. Kind of an annoying little thing, that. But yeah, there's a ton of very good American lineups. 6.7 is kind of the golden boy, though, if you want a really, really good one. Like, that's the way to do it. This is how we do it. Da da da. Then we have TT flap. Hey Tech, hope you're doing well. I do agree about the fact that the French vehicles are really good, and I don't understand why people are complaining about them. National bias, mainly, or just, as I said, negative connotation. People should really be focusing on France's top tier lineup, which seems to be quite boring. Also, France all the way against England for the Six Nations. By the way, right, so this, on YouTube, this is going to come out after the Six Nations. On Twitch, we record it on Friday, right? What a banger of a Saturday. Banger! Wales versus Italy for the wooden spoon. To see who is the worst of the Six Nations. At the moment, it's Wales, but that could easily switch. Then you got Ireland versus Scotland as a second match on Saturday, right? So whoever wins that, okay. If Ireland win, they win the whole thing. If Scotland win, they're in contention. And then there's just like the bonus points debacle and how that works. And then to top it all off, you have France versus England, where once again, either of them can win the Six Nations. So you have 4 teams, and 4 of them that are facing one another in the on the weekend who can win the Six Nations. I don't think that's happened for a very long time. Usually there's like a chance of like 1 or 2 teams taking it, but mostly it's just like one team that's a lot further ahead. But right now it's actually really nice. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I think like overall France should beat England. Like when I think about the two sides, but France have very much underperformed the Six Nations. England have played pretty much how I thought they would. Same old style, grind people down, hope for the best. It's been nice to see a bit more expansive stuff from them. Italy have been fun to watch, and I'm glad. Basically, the Italian team of this year is very similar to the Italian team of last year. And I feel like last year they just got unlucky a lot of the time. Like, they could have easily won a bunch of those games last year. And I feel bad for the coach. Because even though they didn't do very well on the table, they did well from actually playing. I just felt kind of bad for him. Because he got let go afterwards. But it looks like the new coach has been following on with what the guy did. So, it's not the end of the world at the end of the day. So, that's positive. Oh, there we go. Hey, No Mercy, nice to see you. Where you drop them horizontally, they act as HE bombs with less power. But if I dive bomb with them, such as the SPD or the JU-87, they seem to pen the ship's armor and work how they're supposed to. Is the angle of impact act how the bombs work? Do you mean are they modeled realistically? Yes. They are indeed modeled realistically, which is kind of crazy. I would just use the HE though. Or put a fuse on, if you're doing that. Yeah, I think one of the big things about France and a lot of the other nations is, a lot of them are just boring as piss. Like, at the end of the day, am I going to play the Challenger, the Challenger, the Challenger, the Challenger, the Challenger, or the Challenger, right? It's just kind of dull. So I'm not really happy with that. Don't kick me out of this bloody match. My internet isn't even dying, man. Oh. Right. Sorry, I just wanted to show that. It's gonna just kick me out. This was my daily one, man. What have I done wrong here? Naval once again, just having a fantastic time. God damn it, man. Why can't we just fix these things? But yeah, so for me, the variety is one of the most important things at high tier when it comes to ground that doesn't exist right now. But yeah, kind of sucks. Hopefully they can change that. Right, so we have Maxwell. Hello, Tech. I want to say two things. One, new game mode idea for Ground Sim, and Among Us game mode, where everyone is using a Sherman of some sorts and goes around killing other Shermans with everyone else trying to find out who's the imposter. A Sherman Among Us, sure. Do. Hey, Dark Chief, nice to see you. 2. About the French ground tech tree, the only thing I have to say is that the AMX M4 is one of the best 6.7s, if not the best, and it should get up-tiered. However, if it does get up-tiered, I will cry and or commit arson. I even asked Gaijin not to put it at 7.0 when they wanted to. It seems that since I was polite, they left it at 6.7 for me. How polite of them. It's very polite. Very, very kind. You know, very kind. Like, overall, incredibly useful, that. And hopefully, going forward, they can finally up-tier that vehicle as it should have been a long time ago. Like, those vehicles are just crazy when it comes down to it. Just get rid of these things. Ooh. Like in general, I think a lot of the French ground tree, it might not be underrated, but it is definitely very good. And nowadays, it's in a much more balanced position than it used to be. And I thank Gaijin for doing that after many years. And a lot of the ideas around French stuff has always just been completely wrong. No idea why. It's just very weird. Incredibly strong and fun tech tree to play. So I'm glad that people get to enjoy it and have a bit of fun with it. Oh boy. So we have SK, not to beat a dead horse regarding the Bronco. See what I did there. 1. Rocker is incorrect, as the US Army never operated the Bronco. The Air Force and Marines did. The Army operated the OV-1 Mohawks. If you want to call a plane ugly, I won't argue with that one. That might have been the one that I was thinking of. I may have put words in Rocker's mouth. Usually Rocker's a lot better when it comes to those things. You know? The US Air Force, aka the son of the Army, feels insecure about letting the Army operate attack planes, so even though the OV-10 is an observation plane, but since it could carry bombs, rockets, sidewinds, etc., the Army wasn't allowed. I'd have to... We'll have... Whenever the Bronco is added, because I'm kind of surprised that hasn't been added, right? Well, what I'll do is we'll sit down and, you know, me and Rocker will chat and talk about the good old Bronco. But yeah, it still is an ugly plane. They both are ugly. But yeah, it's less ugly. How about that? Oh dear. Good old Bronx. They brought the OV-10 back into service? Jesus. But yeah, so yeah, stuff like that, you know, will eventually get in. It's just kind of surprising it hasn't yet. Be cool if it did one day. Yeah, it's probably my fault because the like when Rocker is very much on the spectrum when it comes to playing stuff, so he usually doesn't make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time because a lot of the time I just forget stuff. So, my fault if I put words in his mouth. Hey Prapano, nice to see you. Yeah, it's all good, Prapano. If we miss it, just let me know. Usually it refreshes, so like they open at the end, so we should be able to get to it anyway. But we'll find. We'll see. If I don't get to it, just let me know. Or it doesn't appear, just let me know. Sometimes comments get like auto-modded off and stuff like that, which is annoying, but you know, it should be fine. So we have C-76 Caravan. Hi Tech. Hi. Do you believe in love after love? Do you feel that Gaijin is doing the minimum effort of non-gaming related areas of War Thunder, namely the bug reporting page and the market page? I remember when the market page was upgraded, I gave a ton of feedback, others did as well, asking that they improve the filter and sort function, especially on the personal page. Show, sell, and buy values on the cards instead of just one and other ideas. Similarly, the bug report... Ooh, sorry. Goddamn, my bad. Similarly, the bug report page feels like they just plunked it into the community and pretty much said, good job, we made it public, now we don't have to do anything with it anymore. In terms of improving the page itself, there are no useful filter functions. The search function is somehow able to return more useless results than actual relevant results. I feel this results in even more duplicates than ever before, just making the work for the bug report volunteers even more impossible. I mean, maybe. Like, I wouldn't say that they don't put in a lot of effort, because if you think about like the last previous time, so you know, they actually made the bug report page, right? Like that was quite a huge thing and still is. Separating it off from the forums. You have the expansion of the actual forums themselves and improving them, or at least their functionality, even though they've destroyed the history of it, which, at least in my opinion, is a big thing. They did obviously improve the market, and is it fully there yet? No, but it's a lot better than it has been. They also improved their website. The website is one of those things which, if you actually go over to the old website, like through Web Archive, it's a lot better than it was. They've also improved like the esports area. They're one of the only areas they haven't improved, which I feel like they should have done, is the War Thunder Live, because War Thunder Live is pretty weak, if I'm honest with you. That if you want to see a search function that doesn't work or a blacklist function that doesn't work, that's where you go. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong with that one. What's this ship? This is a British one, isn't it? It's like a York or something like that. I'm pretty sure it is, Teddy. So I think in general, there's been a lot of upgrades that they've done. I think the functionality question is definitely an interesting one, right? It's the Ken. I knew it was British because of the guns and the overall layout. I just didn't know which one. There's questions about functionality. You know, when it comes to the bug reporting thing, the most important thing is the bugs get through it, right? And like they actually get reported. A search function for people to see previous bug reports is obviously quite important, but you also have to understand the vast majority of people are never going to use that in their life, right? They're just going to post what has annoyed them at that time and then push it forward, right? So you're still going to have all of those issues with War Thunder in general. Which sucks, but like you're never going to change that, so it's just how it goes. I feel like the setups that they have now are a lot better than what they had previously, and I'm sure that in time they'll improve them, but I don't know, like, one of the problems I have with this type of like conversation thing is I don't know how long it takes to change these things, and I don't know how much effort goes into changing these things. Like, the last time I built a website was 15 years ago, right? Because, you know, I'm just not in that life. And I don't know how, once a website is built to a specification, how hard is it to modify it, or how much does it take to modify it and maintain it and do all of these different things, right? Like, I just don't know. I'm sure nowadays it's a lot simpler than it was before, but, you know, that's not really saying much. So yeah, I would have to look into that world and see that. Because right now, previously we had one website and that was it. And that website, everything ran through it, right? Now there's like several websites where they all have like a different purpose and they all do a different thing, and they're all, I'm sure, maintained by either the same person or a group of people, so they have way more work on their hands. So it's kind of interesting to look at and see, but I don't have the decent amount of information needed. I'd love for them to make that stuff more interactive. I still think would be a really nice like a compare system, for example, would be really cool to see. Like between stuff, but I think overall they're doing a pretty good job with it. Especially since, once again, think about the fact we literally didn't have anything new for 6 or 7 years, right? But hopefully everything's good, Blister. Like, we had 6, 7, 8 years of no changes. Everything was the same. These things are much more recent things which have happened, which I feel are still in their stages of making sure this is the way that they want to go. Which is kind of interesting to see, actually. It's very easy to set up and maintain a website, lots of hosting services, with ease to use page editors and many more features. And of course, you can still use the good old HTML plus CSS. True, but like, think about how complicated something like the Gaijin market is, right? And how many like interlacing things that it has in it. So, because it isn't like a standard website, it's a functioning market, right? And it has to change consistently with that. Like, I wish I had more knowledge on how something like that is set up. Like, how do you set up basically a market trading website? But yeah, unfortunately, it's just something I haven't really put a lot of stuff into. But of course, it would be nice to see these things improve, and hopefully it, you know, continues to get better, and I'm sure it will. It's always nice to see improvement. PHP, HTML, and CSS. Well, you guys will be a lot better at that stuff than I am, right? So, like, you know, I think you guys would have a much better idea of how you could do all this stuff. The color palette on this map keeps changing. Are you seeing that? It keeps like getting brighter and darker and brighter and darker. A bit weird. I have like 5 guys shooting at me at once. So we have the only Lilin, or the only Len. Sorry, Len. Every time I see only Lilin or only Lilin, I just think Lilin for some reason. It's very silly, and I shouldn't do it. It's Len. I should just say Len. Hi, Tech. Hi. I've been hooked on Elden Ring this week and remembered how War Thunder's more rage-inducing. Bloody CAS and strong Russian tanks running rampant while grinding the Swedish line have me believing the gospel of Russian bias. I've had more peace and tranquility in my soul dunking on bosses in Elden Ring. Well, it is a PvP game, a PvE game mostly, right? So the thing about like stuff like Elden Ring and things like that, at the end of the day, if you like prepare properly for a lot of the bosses and stuff, it really isn't that bad, right? Especially if you're not doing like the New Game Plus stuff or whatever. Like there's always it's patterns, right? Like a lot of those games is pattern recognition and being able to react to the pattern that you're seeing and when to take your chances and when not. In War Thunder you can't choreograph stuff like that, because it's as if you have several bosses and they all have infinite amounts of different things that they can do. So it doesn't work as well. But yeah, for me, I have, you know, I really enjoy PvE stuff, and you know the kind of setup and the strategy and all of those different things. So yeah. Speaking of player markets, Rocket League closed those down recently. They closed down their player market? Why? Was it just not making any money? Interesting. Anyways, backstory snippet. 6 years with WOTB. Game really changed my mentality along those years. It's a long time and I grew up with it, quite literally. Gradually it changed my perspective around tanks. Presently, it's more the tank aesthetics and more my fascination with wargaming is definitely certified historical tanks that make it into their game. Some real prototypes, some absurdly fake, but one thing is certain. Their decade of misinformation has run so deep it's crazy. Like how they called the Object 726 the Object 279E early, or Czech getting a Tiger Porsche hull and IS turret hybrid. Well, that sounds weird. Search the WOTV Skoda PJS. Don't know why, but it's fascinating and it's funny as heck. I ramble about two tank cousins and their aesthetic nest tech talk. Thanks, Noise. Have a great weekend. You too. Have a good one. I need to play the Elden Ring stuff, but I want to get the Dark Souls done first. We'll do it eventually. We'll get her done. But yeah, the cool thing about there's two ways to look at it, right? And it's really cool that they have like all of these different things, and you know they add all these different stuff into the game, but also like the amount of times, at least for me, that I've seen people use World of Tanks or you know stuff like that as like a historical record, but like what is real and what is not is actually quite startling. Because as we said before, a lot of these games market themselves as realistic / historical, and they're very poor at labeling things. Basically, for good reason, because if they did label them in certain ways, people would get annoyed. So yeah, it's just interesting to like kind of look at and see how they do it. I've seen some of the crazy monstrosities in World of Tanks, but to be honest, I do find them kind of interesting. I don't really like the idea of them being in War Thunder because of the whole, you know, balance situation, but I think just from an actual model point of view and the way that they look, I think they actually look really cool, and I'm glad that they get to be in the game. I'm glad that they get to have a piece of their own history in the form of a video game. And I can't wait to see, like, in the future, there's a few of the games which are trying to mimic not just what World of Tanks does, but also kind of War Thunder in a way. And I wonder how those guys are going to do and what they're going to do with their piece of their own history. Like, imagine if you have, in the future, because you'll have like textbooks at school which will use pictures from video games to try and illustrate stuff, right? Like you already do. Like there's always like articles every so often where, hey, look, they're using like there's a few like Twitter accounts and there's a few like there's a few things like that which straight up just nick screenshots from War Thunder and use them as like, you know, talking about specific vehicles or talking about things that are like around the place in that way. And I find it really interesting, like how it's all set up, because obviously, you know, it isn't real, but it's the closest depiction to real that you can get. So of course people are going to use it, and that's, you know, what goes on. So it's really cool to see that stuff, and I feel like going forward, that line is going to be blurred a lot. Or people are going to go, this is a representation of what this was supposed to be about, you know? You get loads of people taking squad gameplay and saying it's footage from Ukraine. Oh dear, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, it is kind of nuts how all that stuff works now. Like, you know, the line between those things is more and more blurred pretty much every day. Like, it's just nuts. Like, I don't know. Why run HE on a cruiser instead of SAP? Just lack of need for caliber? I don't know. I like big booms and I like big butts. Sometimes it is just straight that, or I'm just not concentrating. Usually I take AP. Well, people used to do it with armor, but armor looks so unrealistic now. Like, what happened to that project that the guys were working on? Like the armor guys. You remember that? Like they were working on the new armor. Like, what happened with it? Like, do you remember like what even went on with that stuff? Reforger just put out an update today. Oh, there you go. So it's still kicking. That's good. They're still getting stuff done. Like, I feel like that's been like going for a while, right? I thought they really did like hang their balls out doing that, by the way. When they're like, oh yeah, so we need to actually fix, or we need to develop this new thing, so could you buy this product to test it for us, and then we'll use that data to build the next thing. Hey Northern Knight, nice to see you. Yeah, we're doing the tech talk while also doing the market distinction, getting her done, having a bit of fun. A base capture streak? No. But yeah. Thank you for the subscription, Dr. Feels Goodman. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much, man. Merci. Are you watching Master of the Air tonight, Northern, by the way? Oh, well done, Northern Knight. Yeah, I didn't do much yesterday, so I'm kind of just chilling, getting it done. So we have Away with you, Varbega. Oh boy, here we go. Might be slightly long. Hey Tech, seems I missed the group that shall not be summoned discussion. I'd make some jokes about programmer socks, but I'd rather not instigate another invasion. Nonetheless, you asked about World War II Romania last stream, and like all things in this period, it's complicated is a way best to describe it. So I'll try to make it short so I can, with all the context necessary. Fair enough. You need Donnie to explain what you missed? Fair enough. We haven't watched last week's episode, so we're basically watching the last two tonight. So Romania was Finland if Finland had an extremist group of nationalists turned ultra-nationalists, the Iron Guard, after their leader was offed by the debauched king of the time that liked throwing parties even when the world was burning. I can respect that. The king is forced to abdicate while trying to appease the Iron Guard, and the Iron Guard gets deposed by the new ruler, the Marshal, for disliking the Jewish population way too much. They went and committed some gamer crimes that shocked the Romanian people, and the army made short work of them since nobody would complain. God damn those gamer crimes. Sadly, the Marshal is friendly with the Austrian painter since they both dislike the USSR, with a passion so Romania joins the Axis. Classic. But the no-no Germans do what they do best and belittle their allies, in this case the Romanians, since we're not the chosen ones, and they forgot to send us the promised equipment that could help us fight Soviet tanks. Classic. Enter Operation Uranus, where 2/3 Romanian army gets destroyed by like 9 Soviet armies, since even if the Romanians resisted the first day, Without any good way to destroy tanks, the Soviets don't like numbers to not resolve. Relations were sour because of the aforementioned belittling, but after Uranus, the people were outraged since for most Romanians, the whole thing was about getting lost lands, people back, mainly... Sorry. Something happened with my mouse there. Mainly the Bessarabia. Thus the relations between Romania and No-No Germany were going down the dump. While this was going on, the perfect chance for the remaining people with a soul to rally behind the king and try to make things right appeared. Thus, just like the old king, the marshal was now on the chopping block himself. He was asked to get out of the war and sign an armistice with the Allies and the Soviets, but he refused. Thus, King Michael uttered the sentence, "If things are so, then there's nothing we can do." Oh. That was the phrase that started the coup and got Romania... That was the phrase that started the coup and got Romania out of the war, a muck that stains our history to this day. That was also the day when Romania joined the old friends and the Allies and fought to free their allies. The Romanians fought up to the gates of Prague before the war was ended. That is why there is a photo of a Romanian VDC R-35 and 2 Tiger IIs. They're all abandoned, but the VDC R-35 is not destroyed, thus the meme that's an R-35 destroyed 2 Tiger IIs. Sorry for the long read, but history is a bish for me to explain. No, I get that, and thank you. That's pretty cool, man. There's even though I've read a lot about Second World War stuff, like there's one of the things I've always neglected is the parts of certain nations in like specific areas. Like I was never really interested in that area of the world during the Second World War, because usually it amounts to the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So either I hate this guy enough to be able to like side with him, or I'm forced to side with him because the other guy's trying to murder my ass, right? So it's kind of interesting to look at a lot, and I feel like, at least for me, that was a very good telling of it, and I'll have to look into it. Because I am interested in that stuff quite a lot. I have enjoyed, listening and reading a lot about these things over the years, and I know I'll continue to do so. Even though the period of time is only a 6-year period, there's so much to learn about it from so many different sources and so many different areas. It's fantastic. You could honestly spend a lifetime studying it and still not cover everything. Can you use PC account on console? No, you have to swap it over if you want to, which ain't too easy to do. But thank you. Then we have MJ. Hi TEC, how's your week? Have you spaded the Chinese Type 59? A very long time ago. I had some horrible time spading the damn thing. Someone at Gaijin decided to put the APDS and HESH as tier 4 mods. And on top of that, the APDS has worse angle pen than the Soviet counterpart. On top of all of this, the Type 69, which was folded with the Type 59, is better in every way. Yep, there is no reason to play this tank. Yeah, you basically play it as a backup, and that's really about it. It is not a good vehicle. It generally has a pretty bad time. There isn't a ton of good stuff with it, unfortunately, and in general, it is, it's just a B-class MBT. It's probably the way to put it. Other than their subforce, did the Kriegsmarine have any major victories in the surface warfare? Not really. They lost, maybe, I don't know if in the Mediterranean. That was mainly the Italians, right? No, I don't think so. Yeah, the Type 59 when I played it, the big thing that did me in was the targeting speed on the turret. I found the targeting speed very weak, and this obviously for me targeting speed is quite important because I'm a boomer. So, and that means that I need to try and line up stuff a lot better than I would say the channel dash was a success. I don't know about a victory. Technically, it's like a winter war victory, right? Oh god, sorry. My back is hurting from yesterday, so just trying to maneuver a little bit, just so it doesn't hurt as much. I would say that the vehicle is in a much weaker position than it was when I played it. Because back in the day, that area was not as compressed as it is now. So you got a lot more kind of your BR stuff instead of what you probably get now. Because right now, between like 8.0 and 9.0, you just constantly face better versions of yourself, right? That wasn't always the case. You would still do that, but it wasn't as egregious as it is now. The only vehicle that you ever really had to struggle with was stuff like dealing with T-55 AMs, which, they consistently refuse to up in BR. So yeah, it's generally something which ain't too bad, but yeah, it's something which is a lot worse now than it used to be, Like it wasn't as good. But hopefully, hopefully as stuff goes on, hopefully as stuff goes on, that area gets a little bit more decompressed and you can go back to having more of a meta BR in that area. I think that would be more positive for a lot of the vehicles there, instead of, as I said, just getting hit by better versions of yourself, which happens way too much when it comes to War Thunder. So yeah. Hey Herman, nice to see you. I'm doing well, man. Just getting the naval event done, or at least getting a portion of it done. Trying to get the battle pass stuff done, and tank football, daily specials, that jazz, what we're here for, doing all the random stuff, as you do. But yeah, doing alright. Hopefully you're doing good too. They should make one of those things not... They should make one of those rounds not rank 4 though. They did actually respond well to the Fox issue, where they put the APDS at rank 4. They stuck it at rank 3 and made the AP a stock belt, so I wish they did that with more vehicles, especially those ones which, you do face a lot of vehicles with pretty crazy stuff on them. Is this guy like trying to get torp kills or something? I'm very confused. Like, he's not shooting his guns at all. I think he's trying to do the battle pass challenge, which is very weird. Yeah, I need to play the 109C. Torpedo, yeah, I've been one shot by torpedoes pretty much every time I've been hit by one right now. But yeah, he's not even firing the guns. Like, that's the thing. Oh, he's decided it's time to turn on the guns. The thing that the American machines are known for. There you go. Worked very well there. So we have Noland. I feel like lots of people who complain and scream will just go back to playing the game anyway, because they need to cure that sweet addiction of War Thunder or Helldivers. Some people will take to social media for a topic, even though they don't play the game. That happens with a lot of people, man. Like, you get a lot of bitter ex-players who just, they hang around on like social media places of games that they used to play to basically either do the I told you so thing, or to like push the narratives of like, see I was right to leave, and all this shit. It's really weird. But most people don't. Once they're done, they just go and do other things. They're not broken human beings. That's something you gotta remember. Most people aren't crazy people. Most people are just people you'll never hear from, you'll never interact with, and they're just standard people just trying to have nice lives. They did have some success for a second Battle of Narvik, though I wouldn't call it a victory. That's fair. Sometimes living against terrible odds is a good enough victory. Oh, definitely, yeah. It's like a Pyrrhic victory, right? Yeah, week 2 of leaving War Thunder, I've read the Dalai Lama's self-help book and I've decided to become a gym bro. Yeah. This is why you should listen to me, a very, very clued in member of society. I have not just replaced one addiction with another. In fact, you know, Jesus Christ. I'm in fact a fully functioning human being. Alright. But yeah, like, the social media is just one of those things that's always gonna have a very, oh thanks, it's gonna have a very polarizing look on the world, so that's why I'm not really too worried about it. As long as people are having fun, like, it don't really matter. Just enjoy yourself. You know, clap hands, be happy, don't worry. Beefcakes, yeah. I mean, I like being a beefcake, it's pretty enjoyable. I just like the fact that if I need to, I can just, you know, I can just toss people around. One day I'll become like a guy out of The Princess Bride. Can't remember his name. But he had gigantism, didn't he? The big man. There was a podcast with Joe Rogan and an old wrestler, and they talked about the life of the guy. It was very eye-opening. Like, just little things that you don't think about, and this is, you know, this is something that's quite important over time. But, you know, like, how do you do standard things? Andre the Giant. There you go, Andre the Giant. Like, the fact that he couldn't use a standard toilet, right? Because he would just, you know, he'd just break it. So what he had to do was he had to go to the toilet in the shower, and he had to basically mash it into the underneath. Not too grand. Big huffer, pretty crazy. But then we have SOS Gut Cheese. I love some Wensleydale. You guys don't do that normally? No, I don't usually shit in showers, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I'm built to go down mines. Like, that's just how it is. Like, I'm built to go down a coal mine and die when I'm about 35 from black lung. Like, I've been very fortunate to not have to do that. But I tell you what, it's boring, like, you know, being behind a desk and not doing anything with it. You know. One day, I'll just continue to lift weights and have fun. Big brick, bang bang. So we have Paulie LDP. Yes, please, to a Canadian tech tree or an Australian New Zealand subtree. These nations do not need to be part of a Commonwealth tree. There should never be a Commonwealth tree trying to squeeze over 50 nations in. How dare you? I want Zambia in it. And it won't be the Commonwealth tree, it'll be the British tree. But yeah, they'll just do that. You know. We're all in this together. Never forget High School Musical. It teaches you many different things. Childhood abuse is not good. Childhood abuse by Disney directors is very not good. Heroin can be fun sometimes, but most of the time not. If somebody tells you that they're a recovering addict, they're a liar. Demi, once again, just in the hole once again. Good old Demi Lovato. If you wanna really read just a ridiculous life, Demi Lovato is the way to go. And then it also teaches you that no matter what happens, we are all here together. Also, I'm so sick of the fact that they buffed the SKR-7 again. I hate these people so much, man. It definitely does need to be taught. Definitely. Whoever makes any change to Naval that buffs the SKR-7 needs to have a long, hard look in the mirror. But yeah, they could put everything in the same tech tree. I think it's a good idea to do so. I don't think it's a good idea to split things off artificially. There's no need and stuff like that. We do all hate the SKR-7 abusers, including myself. It's a form of self-hate, you know? It's more I get why people do it, and I don't really care what people abuse. I'm just sick of the fact that every change over like the last period of time has made these things more abusable. And you don't stop the abuse by making it more expensive. Look how much damage this guy's doing to me, man. Every 2 rounds is doing about 10% of my damage if he was actually hitting me in different areas. And just because I can kill him faster doesn't fix the issue. It's so dumb, man. How's the one with the dual 23? No idea. I'm just bored of them refusing to up BR it. I can't think of a single more abused vehicle in War Thunder history. You can run 4 of them if you could spawn 4 of them. SKR-1, SKR-7, SKR-7. Backup. Crazy. Nuts world to be in. Because once your guns go out, it's GG. It takes me like 5 seconds to repair my guns on that thing. It's very hard to keep up the sustained firepower to stop the guns firing. Then we have, they can't add the Canadian tree because Britain already has South Africa. Adding them to anything other than the UK is just stupid. The big 3 nations do not require subtrees. Well, yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, in general. But there's always going to be the conversations, right? Because there's going to be different people with different opinions, and they're going to differently want different stuff. Because one of the byproducts of how War Thunder works now, that was from Bugatti 1, by the way. One of the byproducts of how War Thunder works now is you have the vast majority of people who play only a very small percentage of the game. So that means that you will have people advocating for their own thing, just like you do in real life, where turns out the people who own homes don't want an area to be gentrified, or don't want an area to have, let's say, stuff which will lower the value of the homes, or even new homes built, right? It's just, you know, part and parcel of how all this stuff works. So there's nothing you can really do with it. It's just how it goes. And yeah, just simple as, really. The interesting thing about the big 3 is they don't need them, but because the vast majority of people play the big 3, then they're going to advocate for them to be in the big 3 because they want to play them, and they don't want to play a different tech tree to play them because they're lazy and also don't have as much time on their hands as other people, or, you know, all that stuff. I have no idea what has screwed my buoyancy here. I don't know what is going on, but I'm just not buoyant. Where'd you put Canada anyways? Britain. Some people have advocated for Germany. Those people are wrong. The only people who advocate for Germany are people who play Germany. And because they think only the leopard exists in life. That whole time I wasn't able to get rid of water out my machine. No idea why. Germany? Yeah. Yeah, okay, here. I'll give you how this works, okay? Hi. I've looked at Canadian vehicles on Wikipedia. And you know what I found? They use the Leopard 2 and they use the Leopard 1. That means they should go to Germany, because Germany makes the Leopard 1 and the Leopard 2. There you go. That's the logic. It ain't like fancy, it ain't anything. It is just that. Okay? That's it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to put any thought into it. You don't have to do anything. That's it. German vehicle equal German tech tree. That's it. The color palette thing's weird, right? I've seen it a bunch in this naval thing. I'd give it to Japan, why not? By the way, that's the last question. So if any of you have questions for the end of this tech talk. It is very warm in here right now. I need to stick a fan on actually. But yeah, I think overall pretty good tech talk. We just chatted about general stuff. We didn't really talk about any of the new things that have been going about. Have I watched the Master of the Air finale? No, we're watching it tonight. No. Yeah, we can do the profile stuff after, Yumlia. We're gonna have a look for you. Yeah, I haven't. I haven't watched the previous episode of Masters of the Air or the last episode, so we're doing both of them tonight. We're gonna sit down and watch them. So, why do I hate sausage gravy and biscuits? I don't. I don't like American biscuits. I think they're very poor. I think sausage and mashed potato is superior. Those dry ass, crappy biscuits are awful, man. They're just terrible. I don't know why anybody wants those things. Over the last few days, we did make some pretty cool food though. Like we made some Scottish shortbread, and also we've made some Victoria scones, which are pretty nice. You've not had proper southern biscuits then? Whenever it comes to cuisine in America, that's what I get told. And cuisine in America is usually pretty good, but that's pretty much the same thing I hear every time. If it didn't taste good, therefore it wasn't proper. But the thing is, that could be said about pretty much every single food, right? That's just how it goes. It's not bad food, like it tastes fine, but there's just better stuff. Like, sausage and mash is so much better. But the North Korean MBT come to War Thunder, or the Chun Maho, is fucking better. I want a day where I can say Chun Maho properly in a video. You know the guy who does the War Thunder announcements? Like, who does like the War Thunder videos? I just want to hear him say Chun Maho. Like, I think that's the way forward, you know? But that's the end of the tech talk. Yeah, the Thunder Show guy, whatever he's called. We'll go chill and get this event done. Hopefully the event goes goes well for you, and you know, you get like tank football done and all these different things. So many things going on, kind of crazy. What are your thoughts about Gadget refreshing the vehicle search mechanic in the tech tree, where you can search for vehicles by BR? Think it would be easier to make lineups? Or like up here? Yeah. They could add like two tabs, right? The fact that they even have this thing is crazy. Like, the fact that I can do like this. So this is all of the vehicles that have chi in their name. Like, I bet you people don't even know this is a feature. Like, you can do that, have a look for stuff. If you like wanna, I don't know, wanna see all the vehicles with F-1 in the game, you can just have a look. I think it's crazy. They've added so many search functions now, and it's so good. Like this one, and then like in the service record, they've added this one. Beautiful. They added it for skins too, I think, or at least they did somewhere. Oh, the decal one. They added the decal one. Like it's so good. But yeah, constant improvements are always nice too. Right. I will see you guys later. We're gonna continue streaming, but for you guys on YouTube, look after yourselves. See you soon. Bye bye.